what we want, which is individualism. We should have individual, inalienable human rights as a global society. I mean, if we really do want to talk the ideal of globalism, that is the ideal of globalism, but we're seeing the exact opposite. So, after that, I hooked up with Shepard Ambellis, and we did Shade the Motion Picture, and for me, this was kind of a move towards more of, this is the first documentary I've done without narration. And I really tried to keep it at that 90-minute mark because I really wanted it paced. My last film was 2 hours, I think 12 minutes, and that's great. But it's tough for some people to get through a 2-hour-plus movie, and I feel like some of the nittiest, grittiest stuff in that film is in the last 20 minutes. So you want to get them through the movie. And I think I did a good job with this latest one. And this one, instead of talking about any kind of New World Order or 9/11, you're never going to hear, quote unquote, anything about a secret society or the Illuminati in this film. Instead, we focused on what I think is one of the groups that is at the apex of this power structure, this global power structure, and it's able to camouflage itself. In other words, it's able to recruit people in, but at the same time serve royalty, serve big banks, serve the military-industrial complex, and that, of course, is the Bilderberg Group. So I thought that was important because I don't want to just preach to the choir. These movies are not meant for, the audience that listens to Alex Jones all the time or goes to InfoWars every day. This is really for the general public. This is what I'm trying to do. I want more people to come into this information, and it shows you, again, that this is more than just a Democratic and Republican world. And then instead of tackling all these other subjects that I think have been handled very well in other films, whether it be the military-industrial complex, the problem with things like Blackwater, the war in Iraq, the Bush administration, the wars out there, the American freedom to fascism with the taxation system and the Federal Reserve banking system. This stuff has now gotten out to the point where you have a Ron Paul Republican, you have that side of the Tea Party movement that really started it. You have masses understanding these subjects, but what they don't really seem to understand yet is that geoengineering, whether you want to call it quote-unquote chemtrails or you want to call it prolonged jet contrails, which is what it's referred to in their documentation, or solar radiation management, it is occurring, and it is affecting our ecosystem. And when you look at any kind of sort of environmentalist movement at the core, on the outskirts, there are people that are really trying to do the right thing. They really are trying to save the earth, and there is legitimate environmentalism out there. We should stop polluting our oceans. We should reduce our dependency on fossil fuels and move towards solar, wind, even hydrogen. I mean, there's so much technology that's out there. Maglev trains, we could rebuild the infrastructure of this country like Eisenhower did with our highway system and make ourselves 1,000 times more efficient. But that's not what they want to use technology for. Instead, they want to use technology to stranglehold us. So I think this is important. And again, at the core of this, it's always about population control, And when you get down to the people that sit at these tables talking about how many people should live and die, they are billionaires. I am not a billionaire. You are not a billionaire. No. We are never going to be billionaires. If we are the luckiest horseshoe up our ace mother truckers, man, we might be millionaires someday, and that's probably not going to happen. Okay, so no matter what, we're not going to sit at that table. And when you have a guy like Ted Turner, who outwardly, and we show this in the film, I mean, I think there's some great footage that we got in this movie. Awesome. Thank you, We Are Change. Thank you, Luke Rudowski, the founder of that organization, who allowed me to use it. One of my really best friends now in this whole entire movement. I've known him over a decade, and he continues to amaze me, and he's just a great person. There are two very telling clips. I mean, there's one clip where he straight up says that, a population of about 2 billion people is right, and we should have a one-child global policy. Now, crazy. I am against the type of policies we have in China. Right? I mean, that's where they forcibly abort babies. Mm-hmm. And that's what you would have to have here in the States. You can't sugarcoat it any other way. Not to mention the fact that we have a global populace right now of 7 billion people. Where do 5 billion of us go, Mr. Turner? So
That's right, man.
I mean, and he gets a seat at this table. I mean, we show you the guys that are meeting. He gets a seat with Warren Buffett and David Rockefeller and George Soros and even Bill Gates, and they get to discuss, how many people we should have on this planet. And even more telling, you want to talk about how psychopathic this man is. He's got, I believe, 5 children. He is the largest landowner.
Yes.
In the United States.
He made that comparison with the bison being more important than the people. It was crazy.
Exactly. And he gets approached by, again, another member of We Are Change, it a separate thing. And maybe even, that being telling, again, the bison are more important than people, and he walks away. But when he's first approached, he's asked about a quote that he said in 1996, where he said that the global population should be reduced by 95%. Now, I was going to put this into Invisible Empire, but I will be dead honest with you. I could not find the source. I could not find a source for this, at least an applicable one, right? So I didn't put it in. Instead, I put some of the other damning things he's done and said in the film. It was enough, trust me. I mean, but when he's approached, he doesn't say, no, I didn't say that, or no, I don't believe that. He said 95 or 96 was a long time ago. I might have said it. You might have said in 1996 that 95% of the population needs to die, sir? That would have given us about a population globally of 350 million. So the fact that he doesn't even contend that point. And, we also present an interview with Prince Philip, one of these real, top globalists. People don't understand it. This is why the next subject of my my next documentary may be royalty, is that royalty has really been at the top of this power structure now for hundreds of years. Don't get me wrong, they've had fights, they've shifted powers, but they're still at the top. And the idea that in 2013 we have any system, whether it is the royal family in the Anglo-American Empire that is obviously more dominant than, say, the princes and the sheiks in Saudi Arabia, these are systems in the modern world where, because of your bloodline and your birthright, you are somehow more of a human being than another person and should rule over them. The idea that any kind of a first world westernized society will put up with that by another first world westernized society, or allow them to maintain these ceremonies and influence, again, based on bloodline, is complete insanity. It is complete insanity.